Okay, time to tear this bad boy apart. This is a corporate or a 14 bolt. 410. According to the glove box, it's a posi, but I've yet to tear that apart. Those come off tough. Two more. I think somebody should buy some new lug nuts and probably chase these bolts, but sometimes when these have been on here for so long, they get really frozen. If you have a heavier rubber mallet, that's fine, so you're not beating on the rims. If you have like a 5-pound sledge, you can beat on the tires. Just to try to knock them loose. You can also take and beat, not beat, but hit a little bit just to cause a vibration around the rim, even around the hub. Just be careful of these bolts. These are loose, so not a problem. So this is a full floater, which means that with the axles out, the wheel still is attached. It still works. So in order to take the brakes apart, to take the drum off, this axle has to come out. So I'm just going to get my drain pan. Sorry about that. Another feature of these full floaters is the fact that the bearings within the hub are lubricated by the differential fluid, as in a regular rear end. Front end, like the two-wheel drive, they have to be packed with grease. These get oil. And so if the rear end's full enough and you pull the axles out, 80-90 comes out. So you don't want to make too big of a mess. And speaking of messes, this is where I put the gloves on. No reason to be too dirty, a little dirty, right? So. I can smell the 80-90 already. comes the axle, just to see. I got a mess coming down already. I'll put this up here. Make a mess on my own junk. So, that's it right there. Now there is a gasket that didn't come off with the axle right here. This is a keep item. Put it in my barbecue tray here. So that will either be stuck here or on the axle, or if somebody lost it, they may do kind of a combination of what was done here the last time this was taken apart. Somebody applied RTV silicone to that shim. It's a metal gasket. It's 2 machine surfaces that it has to seal, and once you torque those 8 around the outside on, it's tight. It's not going to leak. You know, as uncared for as this thing is, these don't have it. There's no seeping around there with just that. So now there are 2 nuts in here with locks in between and a washer between that and the bearing. So I need to go get a hammer and a screwdriver. Clean it up a little bit, because there is one of these tabs is bent over within here. Oh, is that loose? Yeah, that's loose. They make a wrench to take these nuts off, depending on if it's a hex type, or in this case it's 6 pins, 6 slots. So you don't have to have it. You can get it on and off just with a screwdriver and a hammer. There are torque specs into seating new bearings and old bearings. So I ordered the socket. I found it on Amazon for about 15 bucks. There's one of the nuts. There's the retainer. So I ordered one just so I can go by torque spec versus by feel. Let's see here. A magnet would be good. Oh, here we go. See this guy? It's kind of like a little spider, a little castle deal. You don't really only have to lock one in. There's a keyway in the top of the axle tube that locks into this ring so that this won't turn on its own. Technically, one of these, there's 3 tabs that are flat here. One of those 3 should have been beaten back into the back nut, and then one of them bent over into the front nut so that they're jammed together. That's the way I do it anyhow. So here's the inner one. Again, to me, this is all very loose. By the RTV, I would assume that this was taken apart before, but by the shape of the brakes on the other side were nothing left. So I don't know who's been in here or why. So like I said, this is really loose, and it's going to loosen up as the bearings wear. So basically at this point, there is nothing holding this in, except there is a washer, a flat washer with a keyway on it. In behind there, we just do one of these, and there it came out. Throw that in our clean pan. We have this pan ready. It feels like the brakes are loose enough that it should come out. Worst case is you've got brakes that are, the shoes are set out, or maybe you've got a worn groove in the back of the drum. And so when you go to pull this out, hits that worn part. Most brakes have a little, or drum brakes have a keyway or an opening in the bottom that you can get in there with a screwdriver or a adjuster tool and back off the automatic adjuster that you'll see when this is apart. You can back that off and that'll bring the shoes in so you can slide it off. In this case, it feels like it's going to come right off, and I'll drop her in the pan. The other side was a little bit sticky. I had to pull it past, but there was no material left on the shoes, and so I was pulling it across the metal. Sometimes you just have to drag it across, and you're going to put new shoes in anyways, and shoes are cheap. I was able to redo both sides with new seals, new shoes, hardware kits, cylinders, which I'll show you in there, brake cylinders for under $100. So there's no reason why not to replace all that while you're in here. And then for another 30, 40 bucks, I got new hard lines so that I wouldn't have to bend them up. I don't know, just my preference right now. So, okay, we'll give her a pull here. Sticking a little bit, wiggle her. And there it is, in all its ugliness. This one, bear with me a second. Okay, this one isn't in very good shape either. If you look at the angle between the brake cylinder going into the shoe, how that shoots up at an angle, am I actually showing it? Kind of, sort of, yeah. That means it's probably about at the end of its travel. There's no friction material left on that shoe. The adjuster is quite a ways out. If I'm even pointing at it here. The adjuster is quite a ways out. So there's a lot of wear in this whole system. There's really nothing for brake material on the back shoe either. And we got all this powder and just a mess. It is just a mess. Yeah, there's a good groove in there too. This is a lot just like the other side, except that this parking brake lever bar had tried to come out, escape from the brake drum by shooting out one of the inspection holes in the slots in the side here. So this one I have all the parts for. I just have to get this into my nut to get turned. So I'll take that to Ron's, get him to do that. I've got all the hardware for that. I won't tear any of that apart. To me, it's better to tear it down and put it back together in one shot versus tearing it down and then wondering, kind of second guessing yourself where everything goes. So this will stay together for tonight till I get this drum turned. I'll have to pop the seal out of here, which isn't too bad. This outer bearing or inner bearing comes out of here, so I'll clean that up. The inner bearing is captive inside of this hub that the drum is attached to. It's captive. There's a clip in there that it involves preloads and a press to press the studs out for the wheels. So I'm not going there. And plus, at the machinist, his machine needs that outer bearing in here to center it on the machine so he can turn this. So that's good news, because this can be a real pain to have to tear down. Like if you were to replace this drum is separate right here from the hub. And so these two have to come apart, and what's holding them together are these studs that are pressed through. It's great that all I have to do is knock the cobwebs off. Ron will put it in his machine, he'll clean it up, soap it up, and we'll be good. So I'm gonna work on getting this clean, which isn't very exciting. So I'm gonna probably turn the camera off for that. There's our good bits that we'll also clean. Right now we're not, surgical clean. We're just knocking the chunks off. When this hub comes back, it'll have been machined and cleaned, but it will need another cleaning before it goes on. Always, even if the machine shop cleans anything, whether it's an engine block, brakes, any kind of hones, any kind of machining, always go through for them, for you, clean it up, give it a final clean before everything goes in. And of course with brakes, when you're dealing with friction material, make sure that that is just absolutely clean, because you do get your greasy mitts all over it while you're putting it together, whether you try or not. Drum brakes, that's why, I don't know, some people I suppose see it as an art to putting these things together. You get springs and just junk everywhere. And while you're doing the dance of getting clips in and springs attached, your mitts get all over the thing. So it's best to